What we're going to do today is, you see those deck of notebooks on your desk? We paid for that. Let's use that. All right? What I want one person from each table to pass it around to everyone around you, please. Because we're going to use a little bit of our thinking brain today, because we've been doing listening for quite some time. Okay. Let's pass it down on the count of 10. This is a mobility swiftness test as well. I'll count back from 10 to 1. I want to see everyone with this notepad and a pen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, show me the notepad, please, everyone. Okay. The other day when I was sitting at the dining with my son, we had a conversation. Out of somewhere he said, "Geez, Mom, can't believe you're older than Google." I'm like, and I thought, okay, inside my heart I said, I'm glad you didn't say you're older than the internet, right? So how many of us are older than Google? I'm sure majority of us. How many of us are younger than Google here? Younger, good. But don't get too excited, because time will come and your children will say, "Geez, I can't believe you're older than Claude." All right, it's just a bad time. So what the panel today is about is, in the last decade, how the leadership has changed. We're managing team across the globe. We are, myself, I have a team. We speak among us. We speak 16 different languages. I have a team from 17-year-old to 70-year-old, cognitively diverse, neurologically diverse, coming from different walks of life. But what is that one fundamental thing in leadership that has, stood the test of time? It was, just as relevant 10 years ago, just as relevant today, and it's going to still be relevant in the years to come. To discuss about this, we have our amazing panelists, 3 people from different backgrounds who've done themselves proud, done all the Nepalese community proud. They built businesses from scratch, led team across different industries, different team settings. We are welcoming them on the stage, but with that notebook I gave you, what we're going to do is every question we ask to the panelists, I want you to write it down yourself, please, because I think all of us have led teams in our lives, right? So these questions are very simple and relevant to every one of us. Even if you haven't, maybe you've led the team of your spouse and your children at home. Maybe use that experience to write those answers. And I will make sure I'll collect those answers at the end of the day after this. If you can do me a favor, write your name on the top. If not, anonymous, I'm happy with it. All right, without further ado, I want to welcome my panelists. The first one is none other than Nishant Sharma. He's a lawyer, an entrepreneur, education leader, legal services. His businesses span across legal services, education, healthcare, construction, and hospitality. Look at that lineup. Welcome to the stage, Nishant. Nish. All right, our next guest has flown all the way from UAE. I am so proud and glad to welcome her on the stage, Ms. Rita Tami. She is the head of business for Hisense, and she looks after operations of 8 countries. Think that, 8 countries, and Hisense is one of the leading electronics and community companies. To lead 8 countries, team of, the diverse team, you have some experience, an experience and half up your sleeves. The third one, last but not the least, we have another lawyer. And he is none other than our South Australian Moti Naral. He is a lawyer. He's a senior healthcare executive. His career spans across law, governance, healthcare, and he's also recognized as the next-gen business leader, right? So that is the whole panel about. What is the next-gen business leadership about, right? Who we have to be, who we have to evolve as the next-gen business leaders. All right, I think we have to wrap up quickly, so we're going to go to the questions. There are a few questions we're going to ask all of you, and there are some questions will be specific to yourself. All right, and these questions, please do write it on the piece of paper because make sure I'll collect it. So this one is like what I was talking was in the last decade, right? How has leadership changed looking back from 10 years ago to today? What has evolved in terms of leadership and how a leader has to, evolve themselves? Moti, yourself, please.
Thank you, and thank you for putting me on the spot as a first panelist. Look, in terms of the, one of the things that has changed for me is the technology, right? So when I started as a leader in a nursing home as a nurse to start off with, everything was in person. We would have to go and meet our team, we have to deliver on the KPIs and whatever it might be, all the discussion were in person. Now, after the COVID, and also before that actually started, we have around 20 business managers all over national, right? And one of them is in South Australia. Everybody else is all over Australia. And I traveled last week to Brisbane. That was my first time I've actually seen my team members there. So in terms of the leadership, it's all about now communication. In terms of how we communicate has changed drastically in the last 10 years.
Absolutely. Is that any different in a product-based business?
Thank you so much. And first of all, I really want to thank you. I'm the only one representing Finye UAE. On behalf of Finye UAE, I want to thank you, everyone, so that people know. Thank you. And for the leadership, it was mind-blowing yesterday's session. What it stuck me in my head is when we talk about the next generation leadership, I do not want to go any further than yesterday's session because that proved what is the next generation leadership look like. Absolutely. They had the courage. They walked us through every little factors that any leadership would want to have. They talked about the demand supply. They talked about the adaptability. They talked about the vision, the mission, the purpose. So it was mind-blowing, and I'm really grateful that I'm here today. And what requires for the next 10 years or 5 years, what has changed in the leadership? I come from thank you very much for, dragging me into the next generation leadership because you politely proved me that I am the older generation. So I have seen that generation where long meetings were equivalent to that, considered as a hard work, and maybe long hours in the office was considered as a loyalty. And this no longer exists now. And today, at this age, I work with the young generation who are 22, 25 years old, and from diverse nationalities. They are from 200 nationalities in my country. So I have a different experience, and I learn from them. I don't teach them. They teach me.
Absolutely true. Thank you so much. Nish, how does, you're incredible. You got your arms spread around like an octopus to, every sector we could possibly imagine. What is that? How has it changed in the last decade for yourself?
Namaste and good evening, everyone. Well, look, it's a great question. I was actually thinking about what do I think about leadership when I was hearing about the other panelists' view. For me, I'm going to have a different view about this whole change. I don't think leadership, style or skills has ever evolved. I think it has remained static. Because even if you go 100 years ago, when the soldiers were led in the war, the leader needs to have the same amount of skills, same amount of passion, same amount of engagement with their troops to win the fight. And today we battle, but we're fighting different war here. But then the leadership skills is essentially same. What has changed is the dynamics, the environment. The content is different, but the context is same. The content is completely different. It's a different example, but the context is same. Do you know what I mean? So today, I'll just give you an example. What has changed is COVID, 2020. People used to work from one centralized location. It was a mandate for everyone to clock in, clock out at a certain time. And then raft of this virus was killing people, and then the government has to put some measures in place, and then all of a sudden people were working from home. And then we have to change ourselves as a leader. We have to change completely to cater that particular situation in COVID. Then the dynamic has already changed. But now we don't have to manage people working from home, because now we have realized they're adult enough to connect with the vision of the company, and I trust you because I hired you in the first place, because I trust you, and now I have empowered you to go and work on your own. So the now leadership dynamic has changed, but again, for the whole entire company and organization to work, the organization has to be connected with the vision of the CEO or the vision of the leader. And once they're connected, I think that's when the magic happens.
Thank you. So the connection to the vision, you'd say. Also, the kindness and putting your team first and, walking, being that shield for your team and taking that first blow, I think has fundamentally, still stayed the same since, long time, isn't it?
Fundamentally, yes.
Moti, I've got a very interesting question for you. In our audience today, we've got young founders, students are there too, and established businesses. If someone wanted to come to you as a mentor and say, Moti, I want to start a business, what would you tell them? Where would you advise them to start, and where would you advise them not to waste their energy?
That's a very good question, and I want to reflect on what Mr. Kunal said earlier, right? People think that to do the business, the first thing that you need is the money. But he showed us that in that graph, that money or the capital is the fifth thing that you needed, right? So what I would normally suggest young people to do is find a market or a customer. If you can find a customer first, in terms of what problem that they are looking for, in terms of you find a solution for them, then if you've got that idea, everything will follow. So one of the great examples yesterday, I think I asked the questions as well for one of the speakers, Nick, I think it was, and he said that, what was the three barriers, in terms of he was having in terms of doing business between Nepal and India, and he actually told us that there were three problems that he was looking for. So if you can actually solve one of the problem, you've already got the market, you've already got the customer, right? So my advice to a young person would be trying to find a customer, trying to get a solution for them. And your worth is actually, how much you can sell your service for is how a bigger problem you are solving for them. So if you solve $1 problem, you'll earn $1. If you solve $1 million problem, you'll make $1 million. So it's up to you in terms of what solution you can find for them.
Thanks, Mohiti. Ms. Rita, we've been talking about AI since, yesterday and today. It's been the buzzword of this whole summit. As a leader, when the whole scenario is emerging, how has AI changed your leadership style? Has it affected you? And, what are you planning to learn to keep up with the...
Yes, I may not be from the AI era. But what I can say is I do use extensively AI because I think this is the need of an hour, and we all have to, as a leader, we need to learn to adapt. Adaptability is most important, and I have, at this age also, I have been doing a lot of courses. I've been using AI, the Claude codes, and I learned this from my juniors. And I don't mind saying this also, but I think as a leader, you cannot say that I don't know this. The only option you have is to keep changing, keep adapting, and go with the flow. Yeah, if you have the juniors, I think they are also one of the leader next to you. I think teamwork and then learn from them. Do not feel shy. That's my say.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Nish, coming back to you, give us one decision that has changed the trajectory of your business.
One decision, wow. One decision was telling myself not to give up, and that has changed everything.
Wow.
Thank you. I think I just want to elaborate a little bit more on that one. So I think not giving up also comes with a lot of burden. I mean, the word is a buzzword, do not give up, just do it, and all that kind of stuff. We've heard about this. But again, the essence is being able to think differently and not giving up and be innovative. Just a quick example about my own business entrepreneurship journey. I don't want to take too much of a time, but I'll just be very quick. What changed to my business, the whole journey, was me really thinking about how can I really go and connect with my client. Because I had a small office, and then I started with one desk, and I was looking at the door, and I was hoping for some clients to sort of walk in, and that didn't happen. I was very disappointed and upset, and that sort of episode actually continued for like a few weeks. And I was thinking myself, what have I done wrong? Why people are not coming into my business, and what happened? I mean, what is that one particular thing that I can do to sort of bring the clients through the door? And this is going to be relevant to all the young people who are listening in this forum today. I want it to be relevant. So what I started thinking about back then, this is like going 11 years back, and the social media was just getting introduced, and a lot of things was getting posted, and I started thinking about, hang on a sec, instead of me waiting for the client to walk through the door, how about if I go to the client, you know? And that's the idea of me started doing videos. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, a lot of young people have actually approached me and said, you are the first one who started making migration videos, and it was so informative, and I was sitting at home, and that really helped me navigate my complex visa situation. Although it wasn't a legal advice, that you could sort of take it. But again, that sort of enticed my client to walk through the door. Do you know what I mean? So it was being innovative at that time and not giving up.
Absolutely. That is so amazing. My next question builds upon what Mr. Neeraj Khanna said earlier, and that he said he is successful at failing, right? So scaling business is exciting. It's all hype, you know. Sometimes you are there in the room all by yourself and thinking, what am I doing? You know, what is next? Am I failing? Is this the breaking point? What was that point that nearly broke you and you thought, okay, this is not going to work, and you know, I might give up? Or was there such point in your journey?
When I actually started as a lawyer in a law firm, I think in my mind I quit every day. I'm going, I can't do this. I won't be able to do this. I'm not smart enough to do this. You know, and even today, for example, when I was listening to Mr. Wagle, I was thinking I need to go back and do some IELTS again to understand the words. He was, you know, the English proficiency he has got. So he always got that self-doubt to say, okay, am I good enough to deliver? You know, am I good enough? And, you know, nowadays it's, you know, it has been now, I understand now, it's called imposter syndrome. When you put in a place where you think that you are out of the place, you won't be able to deliver it, you won't be able to do it, right? So for me, the breaking point, specifically when I remember one where I go, no, I actually drafted a resignation letter and go, yep, that's it for me. I'm gonna give up and I'm gonna go back doing nursing in a hospital, which is go in, clock out. Then obviously, like Mr. Kunal said, you know, the family is the most important part of you. So my wife talked me out of it, saying that we've already invested so much money in it. For you to become a lawyer, you better earn some money. So I didn't give up, and that was the best decision I've ever made. So, you know, building on what Nis said in terms of not to give up, in the business we are taught, you know, we need to now understand when to give up as well, when the idea is not working. But when actually you are starting up, in terms of, you know, you gotta work hard. You need to make sure that if you don't know anything, you understand why you don't know that and what can you do for you to be able to know that. So again, I want to emphasize that point that Nis said is that never giving up is the key for a young leader.
Fantastic. I've got one more question. I think we need to, because we've got very limited time. For Miss Rita, what was, just building on the same, never giving up and, failure, what was one failure that became your biggest lesson?
Sorry?
What was one failure that became your biggest lesson?
Biggest lessons for every step was very difficult for me. First of all, when I came in 1996 in UAE, it was, UAE is 200 nationalities and different diverse group nationalities are there. We need to cope up in this leadership role. You have challenges, right? Every challenges, I may not be failing, but people try to push and pull. So these are the challenges which was going through every now and then, and I had to go through all the stresses. But how do you cope up with that? You keep on learning. And at the same time, I want to go back to your question, which is related to the same answer as well, this one. The AI and which you questioned me, previous question was AI. I wanted to add there because this relates to that. How I cope up with that is, I think the emotional intelligence, that is most important. We are all this while, we are talking about AI, and I'm from the background of emotional intelligence. And that can never be replaced by AI. And this is a judgment. This is something in human judgment is something that played a big role in my challenges, which is your question now. The failure, yes, I did fail most of the time. And how to cope up is learning, again, adapting, and getting up. Like resilience has to be there in every leadership. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With, AI buzzword going around so much, being a human had never been so much important, more important than ever before. And I think that one fundamental quality would, stay for the generations to come. We have one last quick fire round, okay? This question is all for everyone over there. I need you to write this answer down. This is for just the audience, and yourself won't have time to answer that. If I gave you $100,000 today, hypothetical guys, don't come and ask me that, what business would you start and why? I want the answers on the sheet. For these people over here, we'll do a quick rapid fire round. I'll call out the names, otherwise there'll be a big fight there. Biggest business lesson, Moti?
Not trusting people. When I actually started, it was like...
One word or one sentence max, please.
Now, I trust people to do the work.
Best investment you've ever made, Nish?
People.
Amazing. Worst business advice you've received, Miss Rita?
Money can buy any business.
Best book you've read, Moti?
7 Habits of Effective People from Stephen Convey.
A best leadership habit, Rita.
Listen first and decision fast.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for those nuggets of wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our amazing panelists. Thank you. Before we invite our next panelist, I think Deepak ji will do that. Thank you so much for your time today. And thank you so much for being an amazing audience too.
Thank you so much. The journey of the entrepreneur, how they started, where they got. It was such an amazing session. I really enjoyed it because I personally do know a few of these people who have really, really grown from the dream of their desire, where they were not just dreaming, but they were only